Hello and welcome to the video that's going to guide you through the whole process of how to obtain your digital nomad visa for Italy applying from the UK. I've brought you to one of my favourite spots, which is it's in Polezza at the edge of Lake Lugano, and literally just over there we have Camping Dana, which is very appropriate for this video because I was on the 7-week road trip around France and Italy last year, parked up at Camping Dana when I first heard the news that Italy had released their digital nomad visa. So this is going to be a video all about the practicalities of it and what that process was like for myself. I'll do a whole other video on the manifestation of all of that and how it all came to be, and you can check out all the details in a pretty detailed blog post that I've written, and I will include the link in the description of this video. Okay, so the first thing to do in the process is to go onto your local consulate's website and check their requirements for the digital nomad visa. Don't Google it, don't ask in Facebook groups, go to your local consulate's details, because they are the ones that are ultimately going to be processing your application. And so you need to make sure that you are hitting their requirements as they've specified it. The requirements should be the same across all of the consulates, but I've only got the experience of applying from the UK. So I applied from the London consulate. The website's fantastic, I have to say. All of the details are on there. It details exactly what you need to do. So that's the absolute first thing that you need to be doing. So next up is finding out how you then submit your application. You want to be making sure that you're gathering all of the evidence in full and making sure that you can demonstrate and evidence that you meet all of the criteria for the visa. So in the London consulate, all of the appointments are managed by a company called VFS. So you need to set up an account with VFS, and then you will be searching for appointments to apply for a long stay visa in Italy. So this is a bit of patience and trial and error with actually obtaining an appointment. They release them sporadically and not on a set day or time. So quite often you will log in and you'll check for an appointment and it'll say no available appointments, check again later. You just need to keep checking. I know this varies hugely across consulates. When I applied with London, it took me about a week to get an appointment, and then when I did, it was for 4 weeks time, which I actually didn't think was bad time at all to wait. So literally just keep trying different times of the day, persevere a little bit to get the appointment. Once you get your appointment, you'll be sent the confirmation, and then really you do need to be compiling all of the evidence and everything ready for that appointment. Day of your appointment. For me, I made the journey from Torquay in Devon, where I live, to the London consulate, well, to the VFS head office there that handle all of the visa applications. You're given an appointment time. You're not going to be able to get access to the building until like 10 minutes before that time. You'll have all of your paperwork. I had so much paperwork. My file was probably about that thick with all of, I really wanted to make sure that I was ticking and evidencing absolutely everything. So I got called in for my appointment pretty much bang on time. I think it was 11:30 in the morning. They took all of my information. I paid for my visa application and the return of my passport, and 10 minutes later I was done and dusted. So the actual visa appointment itself was really quick. They literally just take all of your information and then the VFS office then send it to the consulate. So how long you'll end up waiting, I think they specify up to 4 months on the consulate's website. So I submitted my application in the beginning of July. I got emailed in August from the consulate requesting some more information. So they wanted from me a cover letter and further evidencing about my qualifications. So I provided all of that. This is all over email, so not another trip to London, thankfully. And then within maybe 3 weeks from that, my passport arrived with my visa in it. So my visa was granted on the 16th of September. So, you know, I think from start to finish, that whole process actually didn't take too long. And as far as, you know, Italian bureaucracy has got such a, I think it's known worldwide, I actually found the whole process relatively easy and really straightforward, especially being able to have the communication over email when they requested further information and things was really helpful. So that's the practicalities of the visa process. I'm going to delve into some of the requirements now and what it actually means. So as for the requirements themselves, income requirements are fairly self-explanatory. You just need to evidence that you meet the minimum income, which I think is 3 or 4 times the national minimum wage for Italy. Doing that through bank statements, contracts, tax returns, that kind of thing. One of the things that I know they are very hot on is that you have to have either your own property in Italy, which you can obviously evidence. That if you don't have that, then you need to have what they call a registered lease. So this can't be an Airbnb or short-term rental. This has to be a lease agreement that the landlord has registered with the local comune, and that means that it's an official lease, taxes paid and things on it. So it's really, really important, and they will check that. So in terms of how we got ours, we were very, very lucky. This was one of the most amazing pieces. Oh, look at the dog walking. Distracted by all the dogs here. That was one of the pieces that we were really, really lucky about. So we knew the rough area that we were wanting to be, which is this Lake Como, Lake Lugano area. So that put us in like Menaggio, Polezza, that kind of area. We have a friend who lives in Grandola, and so we were looking around this kind of area. I was looking on Idealista, that friend was searching some local listings for us, and it was just weeks of just searching properties. To be honest, I didn't know whether I was going to get the visa or not, so I was just searching whatever happened to be the cheapest rental in the area that would tick the boxes. And I stumbled across one on Idealista. It was literally 1 kilometre up the road from our friend, private landlord. It was €500 a month. We were in the UK when we found this listing, so our friend very kindly went and viewed it for us, and yeah, really hit it off with the landlord. And literally with us on FaceTime, he was like, do you want it? And we were like, you're there, if you think it's good, then we'll take it. And so that day we started organising all the paperwork to then take on that lease. So I think this was about maybe the beginning of June. So this was before I'd even had my visa appointment. But this is kind of like the cycle that you're in, right, for the visa. You need to have a registered lease in place when you apply for the visa, but you don't know if you're going to get the visa, and if you do, you don't know when you're going to get the visa. So for me, it was a risk taking on, I think it was a year's lease on a property at that moment in time that I didn't know if I was actually going to be able to live in. But the way that I saw it, it was like it's in an area that we ultimately want to be. It's in a beautiful spot. If this ends up just being a holiday home because the visa doesn't happen, then like, so be it. You know, we've run businesses and taken bigger risks than that. So for me, that was the way that I justified it. So I actually drove over to Italy and took possession of the keys on the 20th of June. So I came over, did that, went back to the UK for my visa appointment. I was still working within the Schengen entitlement at that time, so I couldn't come back out until the 13th of August. And then I was able to stay, and my visa came through, so I was able to stay for much longer. So that's the really important part of the process. I don't have any quick magic solutions on that, other than keep checking Idealista, Immobiliare, any of the kind of like the rental sites, and just keep persevering with finding a rental. Our landlord is absolutely fantastic, and on the day that I moved in, he was there, our friend was there helping to translate a little bit, and we all went to the local agriturismo and had a beer afterwards. So it was really, really good. So they do exist, just keep persevering is what I would say. So I'm going to deliver a slight word of warning with the Digital Nomad Visa, which I've only discovered since receiving it and actually coming to live in Italy. The Digital Nomad Visa states, and it states this on the Consulate's website, that it entitles your spouse and dependents to come to Italy with you. So, at the time that I applied, I obviously applied just for myself, with the assumption that obviously it would be quite an easy process for my husband to come with me, because my visa entitles him to also come into the country. It's not been that simple. So there's rumoured changes in Italian law that states that you need to be a digital nomad for 2 years before spouses and dependents can join. There's so much ambiguity around that at the moment that I'm just going to tell you what I think from my experience of being here at the moment, and that is I'll do a separate video on what happens when you actually get your visa and arrive in Italy, but just to give a quick overview of that. Once you have received your visa, you've got your travel, you arrive in Italy, you have 8 days to register your residency with your local municipality. So I'll go through in a different video all the process of that. But when you do that, you get given a date to attend the Questura, which is your local police headquarters, where they will it's basically like applying for your visa again. I resubmitted all of the same paperwork again, because your visa permits you to enter the country, it doesn't permit you to stay. So it's a 2-part process. So you've got your visa, you've got your document that states you are permitted to enter the country. You then have to get something called your permesso di soggiorno, which then is your application for residency. That's your permission to stay in the country. I was under the understanding that then gave me permission to apply for family cohesion. So basically David would arrive and then also submit his paperwork for residency, and it would all get processed. That's not what happens. I can't do anything in Italy until I physically get my residency card. Now, I received my visa in September. That's when I submitted my permesso di soggiorno paperwork. I was given an appointment for the Questura in Como for the end of February. I attended that appointment. The computer systems went down, so they couldn't process anything, so I've been given a new appointment for the 11th of March, and it could be anything up to 4, 6, 8 months before I even physically receive the card, and I can't start the process of the family cohesion without that physical card. It's quite a strange one to get your head around, because I could be facing the renewal of my visa before I've even received the physical residency card. At the minute I'm in the middle of navigating all of that, but I just want to put that in as a word of warning that we knew as a family that me pursuing this route might mean that we are somewhat separated this year. David, my husband, is still on the Schengen allowance, right? So he can still only do 90 out of 180 days. And so it really does change what we envisaged this year to be, which was, you know, building a life in Italy together, basically. So I just want to put that as a word of warning. I'm crossing absolutely everything that the appointment goes well on the 11th of March. That goes on to the next stage of paperwork, and I receive the card relatively quickly, because once I have the card, I can then start the process of getting my Italian identity card. I can buy a car if I want to. I can then start the process of getting David as permission to be able to stay here as a resident in Italy as well. So I just want to let you know about that. It's a complicated process in that respect. I don't think there's a workaround, so I just wanted to let you know about that. Ultimately, there's lots of digital nomad visas out there now, so if you're not particularly fussed about it being Italy specific, there's easier, quicker, more established digital nomad visas out there. Okay, this being a very new visa in Italy means that no one really knows what they're doing, and I was really fortunate. The only part of the process that I got some assistance with was submitting the permesso di soggiorno paperwork at the post office, because if that isn't completed absolutely perfectly, they'll just reject it. And so I did have some help there, and fortunately the person who helped me was just fantastic and phoned all the legal helplines for me to find out exactly what code she needed to be using, because no one had come across a digital nomad before, right? She needed to know what category it needed to go into. So it's been a lot of trial and error and a lot of learning, I think, for us, but also for the authorities. You know, it takes time for information to drip down. So, you know, be prepared to have a bit of patience with the process, be prepared to learn as you go along. And if you're good with that, and really your heart and your dream is Italy, and you qualify for this visa, I'd say absolutely go for it. If you're literally just wanting a digital nomad visa for anywhere in Europe, I'd say go and apply somewhere else, because I think, you know, the likes of Spain and Portugal and France, they've all got much more established digital nomad visas, which means there's a lot more information, and they know what they're doing a lot more. So that's kind of my final piece to you. I hope that's given you a bit of guidance as to the whole process. And like I said, I'll do a separate video on what happens when you actually get your visa and you arrive in Italy. Bye for now.